Your journey can only begin when the self-doubts stop. The first step is harnessing your bravery within. Believing in you is your host, Sean Dumas.
Hello and good day to you all. My name is Sean, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to another weight loss series episode of Bravery Within. You guys are amazing. You guys are continuing to grow the podcast. You guys are sharing the links. You're sharing the episodes, which I can't thank you enough, on your Facebook pages or whatever platform you're listening to. You're liking the pages. The biggest thing is that you're sharing the links, sharing the episodes so other people can find it. And as you know, that gets out there, then the algorithms can find the show a little bit easier, and they make it more available for everybody to find. So I can't thank you guys enough. And the neat part is we are now being heard in 14 countries across 5 continents. I mean, it is absolutely insane how much this program is taking off. And that is all thanks to you guys. You guys are absolutely incredible. You are wonderful to support me and support the podcast. I can't thank you enough. I just wish I could take the whole episode and just thank you guys, because you guys are so incredible in being there for me. You guys are emailing me. You're asking me questions when I'm out and about. Some of you get to run into me out and about when I'm either at the grocery store or the convenience store, and I get asked all the time questions about weight loss, and even some of the ones there for the Honorable Warrior when we're talking about men's health. Anything to try to support them. All my family and friends that are introverts out there, you guys are phenomenally awesome. It's very, very hard for you guys to speak up and talk to somebody there. I'm an introvert myself, that's why I talk about it. But you guys are coming forward and letting me know how you feel and everything that you're up against, and enjoying some of the ideas that I do, and they've come to help you. So thank you so very much. You guys are amazing, and I hope to continue on and not let you down in any way, shape, or form. And I'll just keep trying. That's all I can say. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started on today's episode for the weight loss series. And before we get going, this episode is actually going to be geared more for all the people that support us through our weight loss journey. Our friends, our family, co-workers, anybody like that is 100% behind us. They're our biggest cheerleaders. They're helping us out. And this episode is geared towards them because they do things where they don't realize that they do, but they do. And that's what I wanted to cover today. I've talked to a few people about this, and it's happened to me. So I wanted to try to make an episode out of it. So episode 3 of the weight loss series is called Please Don't Enable Us. And you're probably thinking, we don't enable you, Sean. You're really popping off right away and kind of rubbing me the wrong way. I just want you to know that this episode is dedicated to all our supporters, our loved ones, friends that mean well and are trying to support us and do support us on our journey. None of this episode, please keep this in mind, none of this episode is designed to hurt you in any way. It is only to hopefully get you to see our point of view and how hard it is to persevere through our journey, and sometimes maybe point out when you're giving us bad advice. So I'm not trying to stomp on anybody's feelings. I am not trying to hurt anybody, because we need all the support we can get to get through this weight loss journey. And you guys are amazing. You're supporting us, you're helping us. But what I wanted to do today was go through some of the things that you're doing, and you may not even realize how it basically hinders us, how it hurts us, or it may derail our journey altogether. Now, keep in mind, like I said, this is not meant to hurt you in any way. We couldn't do this without you. I have an amazing support team. My family and friends are absolutely wonderful. I'm not sure I would have got through this journey as far as I have without them, without their support and everything. And that's what today is about. And even my own family, and they don't know it, and I'm not picking on them, but even they have said at times things that will deter me or that could possibly derail me. I'm a Taurus, so I'm naturally stubborn. And anybody that knows me knows that's 100% correct, and I'm not going to hide from that one. But even with that, that has helped me persevere through my weight loss journey. Things they've gotten a lot easier as I've went along, don't get me wrong. But the first 6 months was absolutely miserable. It was tough. It's the things that I had to change and things that I had to go through were monumental. And I wouldn't have gotten as far without my family. There's no doubt in my mind. I probably could have made it, but it would have been so much more miserable and tough. And to be honest, I don't know if I could have made it. My odds would have been severely reduced. Let me put it to you that way. If I didn't have the good foundation for folks trying to help me and be there for me. But I've also learned, and I've talked to other folks that have went down the road here and they're going through their weight loss journeys, that they have been told by their family and friends, mostly family, and this is going to be more towards our parents. And I'm not trying to say anything. Like I said, I'm very delicate here and I'm trying to be good here, so please don't take this the wrong way. But there's almost like a certain level of guilt that comes over our parents because they think that they basically, because of, if you're anything like me, I live in an area that's still old school. And they believed in, and I was raised, that if 4 people were coming over for supper, then you made enough food for 12. That's just the way we were raised, because basically food was used to show compassion and how much you cared for your family and friends. And well, that type of thinking is wonderful. I think it's great, and I think we need to hang on to that tradition. The problem is, if you're somebody like me that sits behind a desk 8 hours a day, of course I get to run around the shop and do different things and stuff, so I'm not 100% behind my desk, but I'm not out building houses or, pouring concrete or putting up block work or, the actual real physical jobs. I don't do anything like that. I work behind a desk and order things is what I do. So, the intake that I have has to be very, very carefully monitored, even though I didn't do it for the first 47 years of my life. Now, like I said before, I bet I tried at least a dozen times to diet before I finally made it, before I finally got this one to work. And it has taken a long time to get to that point. And I've had my more failures than wins. I'll be very, very honest. And one thing that was kind of held true, and when my mom was with us, and unfortunately right now she's passed on, her way of showing love was through food. And that's a good thing. It's an old school thing. And I was raised to do the same thing. But she did bring up to me, once, and that she felt like she was kind of personally responsible for my massive weight loss. When I was so far over the mark. I told her it wasn't her, mainly because I ate my feelings. I didn't know how to process my emotions, as most men don't. It may sound funny. But it's true, especially this older generation. I think the younger generation has a better grasp of that, and I so envy them for that. I really do. I respect them for being able to process their feelings and emotions. But the area that I live in is still very, very small, very, very old way of thinking. So us men, we're not allowed to talk about anything. We're not allowed to do anything. We're not allowed to process. We're not anything. We have to lock it all away, compartmentalize it, and just pretend like it didn't happen. And for me to be able to do that, then since I couldn't process that stuff, I turned to food. And I started turning to food at age 16 because that's when I got my first job. I worked with my dad construction up to that point, but my first job away from the family, and it was a fast food job. And I loved that job. Oh my goodness sakes. I had so much fun there, met so many friends, ended up getting fired twice and hired back twice. It was just a mess. And during that time, I went through so much stuff, absolutely more than any kid should go through. And I'm sure you've been down that road too, where when you were younger, you went through a lot of stuff. But I ate my feelings, and that's when I really severely started putting on the weight. And I must have gained 150 pounds while working there, and I worked there 4.5 years. So, 50 pound, 40 pounds, somewhere in there, a year is a ton of weight. And the problem is my parents did bring it up a couple times saying, you're kind of starting to gain ground. And I took offense to it. I took a lot of offense to it. It really, really bothered me. And what it did is I knew they were right. I mean, I'm not arguing that point. I knew they were right. But I didn't want to do what it took to take that weight back off. And I wish now that I'm, I'll be flipping 50 this year, I wish 30 years ago that I would have done what it would have taken to take the weight off, because the older you get, it gets harder and harder to take the weight off. Your body slows down, we're breaking down, we're getting older, slowing down. It's just, it's so much harder to get the weight off. And there's been so many people that have come up and told me that, their family or while they're going through their weight loss, and a lot of them were just diets. They were trying to diet to get the weight off, when in fact you're doing a weight loss journey, so you're trying to get the fat off. And even in a diet, that's what you're ultimately trying to do, is to get the fat off, because you have more of that than anything else. Because like I've said in other episodes, while you're doing that, a lot of people will work out. Well, you put muscle on, so you're going to gain weight, in a matter of speaking, while you're losing the weight. So really what you're trying to do is just lose the fat. And it's a popular misconception while you're going through, this weight loss journey. Yes, you're going to lose some weight, but you're ultimately trying to get rid of the fat. And I've talked to quite a few people since I've started this, and even before I was even doing podcasting. I talked to several people, and there was always a common theme of, my family said that they feel guilty, or especially when it comes down to mom, because a lot of times moms make the suppers and, they cook for the families and everything else. It's just the way it is. It's not that way in every household, of course. But, especially in old school thinking, moms did all the cooking. So they said that they were, their moms came to them and said, it's partially my fault because maybe I could have made better food or healthier choices. Or, it just supported you a little bit more so you wouldn't have gotten so far out of weight. And that is a very, very healthy and very, very nice thing to say. I mean, that's huge. I mean, to be able to admit when you've done something wrong, especially when you're hurting your own kids or family members, however you want to look at it. I mean, that's huge. It's paramount. But we have to take some responsibility for it as well. I mean, I didn't have somebody holding a gun to my head saying, here, you need to eat these 16 double cheeseburgers or else, I should have at that point went and talked to a professional and got some actual mental help. It would have, I honestly think I wouldn't have put as much weight on as what I did. I think by talking to somebody professionally that has that diploma hanging up on the wall, that piece of paper that says they're smart and they went to school for 8 or 12 years, unlike somebody like me that doesn't have that. I mean, I have a piece of paper hanging on the wall, but it doesn't say that. It's a neat little piece of paper that my son wrote me that when he was real young, and I use that to help keep me motivated for everything that I do. But family members and friends, even some of my friends, they took it upon themselves, especially when I was gaining weight, when I was working at the fast food restaurant, would say, well, maybe I helped, or maybe I enabled you, or, there's so many different things that they try to basically put the problem on their shoulders. And yes, they may have enabled us a little bit, especially moms. Moms always have so much love and care. They say, oh, it's no big deal. It's just a little extra weight, or I don't see anything, honey. I think you're fine. You're perfect the way you are. That's just the way they are. And there are dads that are like that too. They're, they'll look the other way and stuff there, or, they're completely supportive of their kids. I mean, I'm not just saying it's moms. It could be dads. There's a lot of single dads out there that are amazing and take good care of their families. But it all kind of goes into enabling us. And when losing weight is a monumental task all by itself. I'm not going to make light of that in any way, shape, or form. It's one of the toughest things I have ever had to do and get through in my entire life. So when there's folks out there that are doing their best to try to lose weight, it doesn't sometimes, especially in the beginning, it doesn't take a lot to derail them. And yes, Most people that we love and stuff, they support us and they overlook things, and they're there for us. But what they don't understand is losing weight is more mental than anything else. And sometimes just the simplest of compliments, one of the two, can really derail us. And you don't even realize that you're doing it. Because while we're trying to develop healthy and good eating habits, we have people that will tell us, oh, it's no big deal. You can have a little bit extra here, a little bit extra there, or whatever it is. You don't realize basically you're kind of enabling them back into the bad habits. You don't have to be the food police by any way, shape, or form, but what you have to do is be very, very mindful and very, very careful of your actions and your comments, because like me, I'll be very honest. The first 3-4 months, I had zero willpower. I'm going to be honest. When I first started my own weight loss journey, I probably was in the negative for self-control. It took a while just to get to zero, because I had anything would set me off, and then I would run to the cupboards and start just scarfing down food, and of course it wasn't anything good. It was brownies, it was cookies, it was cakes, it was pies, it was more pop. It was anything sugary, because you use food to comfort yourself. Because I was so full of depression that I'd failed so many times. I'd failed at my marriage. I had failed at my business. I failed my son and let him down because I lost our house through COVID. There were so many different things as we were going through that it just seems like there's just one thing after another for work-wise. And my previous job that I had before gave me either too severe or panic attacks or 2 mild heart attacks. I don't know which one it was. All I know is I couldn't raise my arms, I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't do anything. It scared the heck out of me. And I learned at that point, third time is rarely a charm. Even though the saying says third time's a charm, well, if you take it that way, that means third one was going to wipe me out. And then they would have had to put me in a coffin and throw me in the ground. So I knew I had to make changes, but at that point, I still hadn't made the full commitment to losing weight. It was like I was going through too much. I just didn't want to even entertain the idea right now, because then what I did is there was a couple things that I was doing. One, I was hiding behind my fat, because it was so much easier for when people were looking at me and fat shaming me and saying nasty things. It was so much easier for me just to hide behind it and let them tear me down, because then it gave me an excuse to eat. And that's what I was always looking for. I was looking for, okay, well, this person said there that I was a big fat pig, or they couldn't stand looking at me, or, how do I even stand living? What is your problem? Can't you put the fork down? There were so many different cold and mean comments, and then I used those as a reason to eat. It's not the healthy thing, not by any way, shape, or form. It's not the... I should have gotten professional help. I'm not arguing that point. And I probably still should. It would probably help me. But I've been able to turn my life around. And I am way more positive now than I have probably since I was 12 was the last time I was this positive. When you're still young enough and you still see positivity in the world, you still have hope, you still have faith, you still have all of that stuff. But it seems to get driven out of you as you continue to go on through life. I'm not saying that, our family and our friends and stuff there are sabotaging things, but one thing that I learned in the legal world is you have to be really, really careful on how you word things, and even more careful about how you write things, because that can be used against you in court and blow up in your face. I've worked with a total of 3 attorneys. My uncle is an attorney, a darn good one. And I have learned after 20 years in the legal industry that to be very, very careful with what I say and how I say it. And I've always tried to be that way with my podcast. Not because, of course I don't want to get sued. But what I wanted to do is, I know there's so many people that are listening out there. And they kind of, and some people have told me they hang on my every word. They love listening to me. They like the sound of my voice. So I try to be very careful with what I say because I don't want them to misconstrue or take something in the wrong way. And that's what I'm really, really worried about. When I was writing up my notes for this podcast, I was so very careful on how I wanted to say things and how I wanted to present it, because the last thing that I want to do is alienate all the support that there is out there for us. And really, when you're going through weight loss, there's not a lot of support. When you eat, it's typically a social function. You always eat with friends, you laugh and you tee-hee and you ha-ha and you do all that stuff. But for some reason, when you go to try to lose weight, you're all alone. And that is when you need the support the most, is when you're trying to go through all of this. That's when you need the support. And I wanted to make sure that as I'm going through my notes and going through this episode, I wanted to make sure I didn't alienate all the people that are wonderful out there, that love us, that support us, that are there for us day after day after day, when they don't have to be, but they are. But I wanted to dedicate this episode to you guys to say thank you for being behind us. You guys make the whole travel, the whole journey easier. It's not an easy journey by any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's like climbing a mountain constantly, where it seems like you're never going to get to the top to make it easy going down the other side. It's like you're constantly climbing. And then you got like 100-pound anchor that's on your back that's digging into the ground, and you're pulling and pulling. So it's tough enough to get yourself up there, and then you have all of this weight that's slowing you down. And this is when we need the support the most, to be very honest, because it is so simple, because it's very, very easy to backtrack when you're on something like this, when you're on a weight loss journey. And for the first 6 months, I was always borderline giving up. I mean, I had my mindset, I'm going to do this, because I also had it in my mindset that if I did not do this, I was not going to be able to restart. I had it in my head, which is the wrong way of doing it. I'm going to be honest with you, but I just like being honest with all of you. You're my family out there listening. I wanted to be honest with you because I knew if I fall off, and I'm still to this day, if I fall off this horse and give up on my weight loss journey, I literally will eat myself to death. I will give up on everything. I'm going to eat everything fatty. I'm going to have that third heart attack, and I'm going to be done. Because I can't stand to fail again. I can't stand to let everybody down that is rooting me on, that is there for me day after day after day. I couldn't stand letting them down. So I'm very, very careful with the support that I get, that I have, and I am blessed to have. Every time I turn around, they're always asking, how you doing? You know, is this easier? You know, what's your mental status? What's your, you know, how you doing weight-wise? How you doing food-wise? You know, how you doing for preparing meals? How are you getting through the day? Are you bottoming out? There's so many questions, and they're absolutely wonderful. I am so blessed to have the people around me that I do. And I've picked up a new friend. We've been hanging out a lot more, and he's been on the podcast back in season 1. His name's Chris, and I'm so blessed to have him in my life. I mean, I'm so lucky because he works out all the time. He's amazing. If you ever saw a picture of him, it'd be like, holy guacamole. I've seen pictures of him before he started working out and where he is today, and it's like, oh, I mean, I'm serious. He's put on like 75 pounds of muscle, pure muscle. I mean, it's just like, wow, okay, this is somebody that, you know, basically he drives, helps me continue on. He gives me the support. He gives me, you know, he helps me, and he's going to help me try to start working out. I'm not 100% sold on it yet, I'll be honest, but I'm working that way. My son is going to be there while I'm working out stuff to help me. I mean, I'm so incredibly lucky to have all these people around you, and I'm hoping that these podcasts come across that way to help you on the days that, you know, you may have had a bad day at work or a bad day at home, or, you know, whatever the thing is. Hopefully there's something positive in these episodes that you can take with you. But the first thing that you have to do if you're going to go down the road of a weight loss journey is you've got to get your mind into a healthy place, a positive place, an all-win place. You have to get yourself set up and give yourself a good platform to take off from. So that way you feel better. When you have those tough days, you can weather the storms so much easier. So what I wanted to do is, and I'm going to reiterate again, everybody, this is geared towards all of our supporters, our loved ones, our friends, family, co-workers, and everything there. I came up with a few things, and some of these came from other folks that have told me these are things that have been told to them that derailed them a little bit, that kind of unnerved them, even though they were meant maybe. Some of them are so innocuous you would never ever think that they were negative. I mean, you could see that the people cared. And that's the weird part, is because the way it was presented, they meant it as love. They meant it as caring. They meant it as nothing but good for the person. But when you see it from our point of view, you're gonna think, oh, okay, well, yeah, that probably didn't come out. It's not what I meant. I said it, but it's not what I meant, and it's not how it was interpreted. And that's one thing I learned in the legal field is it's one word can change everything. Can be an admission of guilt, and you don't even realize that you did it. So one of the first things that kind of help enable bad habits for us, and that's what this whole episode is about, is enabling bad habits, and that's what we're trying to get away from. When one of them was, you look down today. Would you like a piece of pie or cake? And especially, like I said, in this area, we're still old school. And I'm not sure how it is in other countries or along the coastlines or anything like that. But typically, we associate bad days with food. Food has a very calming and a non-judgmental way about it. It's like you can eat all of this stuff here and you're fine. Excuse me. The bad part is it will get you in the end because it adds calories, it adds sugar, it adds weight, and everything else. It may have helped you in the short term, which that's what I used it for, was to help me in the short term. But the problem is long term, it's more detrimental to your health than it is anything. So that's why, when you offer, just something to make somebody feel better, great. But if you're going to offer something healthy. Offer a piece of cheese, or offer, some people actually do like vegetables. Offer them some vegetables. I know that's not a great substitute, because it seems like, really, I'm going to offer you some cauliflower to feel better? Keep in mind, we're the ones that have to take that weight off. We have to eat. When we do, we have to take those calories back off. So if we, scarf down an extra 500 calories, that's not going to help us any. We have to take that weight back off. Plus, we're going to feel guilty. It may not be right away, but we will feel guilty later about eating that stuff, even though it was all meant in a very, very good way. That's the part that's really innocuous. It's like, okay, it's meant as love, but yet when you have somebody like us, it's like, okay, this just doesn't work. Another one that I've been told is, oh, I didn't see anything, so it doesn't count. Even know that we have to, like I said, we have to take the calories off. We're the ones that have to push through to get the weight down, get the fat off, and everything else. So just because you didn't see anything, which I understand why you're saying that, trust me, I do, and I thank you for it, because that means you're not judging me. That means you're not judging what I'm doing. And that is huge when it comes to weight loss. But the problem is we're the ones that have to take the calories off. And like I said, you don't have to be the food police and say, did you really need to eat that? Are you really going to eat that? You could do anything like that. Should you really eat that? There's always you get people, and I've had that in my diet before I started this one. I had people that when I was dieting, they really would get really just nasty and in your face saying, did you really need that? Did you really need to eat that? What's wrong with you? What were you thinking? And it's like, whoa, wait a minute here. I don't need that kind of harshness. I already feel guilty enough about what I'm going through and what I'm trying to accomplish. I don't need you in my face saying how horrible I am or what a loser I am, or, turn your brain on and think. I didn't need that. And when they left, man, oh man, if they knew how many thousands of calories I ate because of their snotty attitude, and even though they were meaning it to be helpful, it did not come across that way. And it's like, okay, well, guess what? I just swallowed down 3,000 more calories because I couldn't tolerate, what they said to me. It just hurt. So another thing that's been said, basically enabling bad eating habits is, you didn't eat that much. Let me get you another plate of food. Even though we may be full ourselves. But the problem is, if it's anything like me, even if it was with my mom, I wouldn't say no to my mom for anything. So it's like, I really don't need any more. Oh, it's okay, honey. It's just another plate or another half plate. It's okay, honey. And I love my mom, and I will forever. But it was kind of like, Mom, you're not helping. He's like, Mom, you mean it with all the love. You could, it was like love was oozing out of her. She was amazing. But it was just like, oh, Mom, I can't do anymore. But, well, there's just a little bit more in the kettle. You can eat the rest of that up. And it's like, ah. So, I mean, I love her to death. Don't get me wrong. She's passed on, and I'm not talking bad about the dead or anything like that. But it's just like, that's the old school way of thinking like it is around here. And it's hard to reprogram that stuff. Another big one, even though I hate to waste food. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is I cannot stand throwing food away. But up here, and I don't know where it is in other countries or in the area, but I was always told you need to clean your plate and eat everything on it or you can't leave the table. Well, let me tell you this, that sometimes cleaning up that plate was an extra 1,000 calories. And you didn't think of it as calories at the time. You just knew that your tummy was full. It's like, I can't put any more in there. But that's just the way it is up here. And I don't know if it is that way in where you're living at or whatever. But that's one of the things is you have to rethink. You have to learn how to do things, essentially. You have to see things from a different way. And forcing somebody to eat the rest of that food when they don't need the calories or they're not hungry is enabling bad habits. So if anything, take half the food, only put half the food on your plate. Worst comes to worst, what do you have to do? You go back and get a couple little spoonfuls or something like that there for a second time. I would rather see that than overload your first plate and then you only eat half of it and you throw the rest of it. There's too many people out there that don't have enough food as is. So to me, every time that somebody throws food away, it's kind of like you're spitting in the face of somebody that doesn't have enough food, and it drives me nuts. So just be really, really careful. But I mean, I was always told, clean your plate and eat everything up or you couldn't leave the table. That was just another bad eating habit. Since you are tired and don't have time to cook, what would you like from the fast food place tonight? Oy, that one got me in so much trouble. It was like, I am just, especially being so far overweight, you were always just naturally tired. It just drove you crazy. And it was so much simpler just to go through a drive-through fast food place and just pick something up. That's what they're designed for, is quick food. And that's what and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't have anything wrong with a fast food. There's not any of them out there I have a problem with. They're fantastic. But when you're trying to lose weight and you're tired and you don't want to go home and cook, it is such a temptation. And there's been times, I'm not going to lie, I speed past the places. It's like, if I go slow or go the speed limit, I am so turning into that drive-thru. And it's like, I can't do that. So you just naturally know, okay, well, don't set yourself up to fail. So I just go, I'd rather have a speeding ticket than take in an extra 3,000 calories. I know that's bad, and my insurance company is probably going to hate me for saying that one. But to me, that's how I keep the weight off. Another one is, here, I bought you some goodies for your house. That way you can treat yourself from time to time. That whole line says nothing but love. I'm not going to lie. That's all it is, because they're thinking of you, they care about you, they want to be there for you. And when I see it, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I love you too. I'm not arguing that point. I think the world of you. But that's calories I don't need. That's sugar I don't need, or salt I don't need. It's like, uh-oh, I can't put that in my cupboards, because it's like, I'll end up eating it, and then I'll feel bad about it. Another one this one, like I've been told this one myself, so this one here comes from me. It's just one meal. Like the calories or carbs are going to hurt you. You're allowed to cheat from time to time. I couldn't tell you how many times when I first started, I heard that. And as I said, that's not what I need to hear. I don't do cheat days. I don't do extra carbs and calories, because once I start down that road, I don't know if I can come back. So I have to stick within the boundaries that I've set up for me for my weight loss journey. And you're right, it's only one meal, and technically, now when I get to my weight where I want to be, then that won't have such an impact on me like what it does now. And I've talked to other people that are on the weight loss journey, and they'll say the same thing. It's just like, I can't take that risk of cheating, even if it is just one meal, because I'm not sure I can get back on the horse and get going the right way again. So you have to be really, really careful when, when you say things like that. And the other one, and that I've been told too, and a lot of people have, because I've talked to them, is you can go back on your diet tomorrow. You need to live for today. Well, sure, I need to live for today, but okay, those 5,000 calories that I just packed onto my tuchus, I have to take them off tomorrow. And when you run 1,800 calories per day, I just ate 4 days worth of calories. Come on, people. I can't do that. It's just not there. Even though it's always, like I said, these are all said with love. They're all said with caring, support. They're designed to give you a way out so you don't feel guilty. But the problem is, once you eat all of that stuff, you feel guilty. It just drags you down, and it's just like, I shouldn't have done that. So another way of looking at this, and remember, we love you. Thank you for supporting us. I'm just reiterating, I'm not doing this to tear you down. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to do anything. This is all just so you see it from our point of view. But would you give drugs to an addict that is in recovery? Or would you give alcohol to someone that is in AA? Or maybe would you give somebody a cigarette who has stopped smoking? Of course not. There's no way that you would, because you're supporting him. So when you have these excuses and these ways out that you're giving us, you're enabling us to stay fat and to keep going with the bad habits. Even though, like I said, they're all meant with love. They're all meant with caring, everything. I'm not arguing that point. But what I'm saying is, nobody plans to become addicted to anything. It just happens. Overeating is no different. Bad eating habits is no different. What you don't understand is food compensates most of the time for something that is missing in our lives. It's either we should talk to somebody for the mental aspect, or we're depressed, or some people are suicidal. I've been down that road. So then you eat because you are suicidal. There's so many different ways of going about it. And there's no doubt in my mind that people that are on drugs or alcohol or smoke, they're all avoiding things. They're all trying to deal with the stress that we're going through. Food is the same way for us. And unless we look at food a different way and basically approach it with a different mentality, we're going to stay fat. We're going to continue to gain weight, which is going to in turn make us very, very depressed and down, and it's just not going to work. We're going to end up shooting ourselves in the foot to get there. So I realize some of our loved ones out there feel guilty about maybe enabling us, and they realize, well, maybe I shouldn't have cooked that meal, or maybe I should have had more greens in it instead of more Alfredo noodles, or just any way to help them instead of, I thought, well, it's a comfort food. They're going to be happy because they're sad. They had a rough day. It'll make them feel better. It will in the short term. I'm not going to lie to you about that one there. I love a good plate of spaghetti and meatballs, or chicken Alfredo, or, if I'm in so much trouble if I go to Italy. Man, I'm in trouble. I got to admit, that's my favoriteest food. Give me the garlic bread and all that stuff. But it would help my mental state out for about 5 minutes. And then when the meal is over, the guilt that I would feel would be astronomically horrible. And that's what I'm trying to just show you guys a little bit there. That's what we go through. It's not that I'm trying to attack you or make you feel bad or anything there, because I know there's a lot of supporters out there. They feel guilty. They feel it's their fault for, enabling us to eat bad, or making unhealthy choices, or having those few extra cookies or donuts or whatever it is, and you just overlook it. everything that I've talked about so far has always been meant with love. I absolutely respect that, and it warms my soul. It really, really, really does. But it increases my waistline and my tuchus. So there's different ways of doing it. But remember, nobody plans to become addicted to anything. I mean, you don't plan to become addicted to alcohol. It just happens. You just have it. And, drugs are the same way. You just, the first time it feels great, and then you want to follow that rush again and again and again and again. And then you become addicted. So after some of the things, just so you understand a little bit more about where we're coming from, some of the things that happen to you after you become overweight, fat shaming. Oh my God. I couldn't tell you how much I was fat shamed. People literally would walk across the parking lot to fat shame me, to say I was a big piece of crap, or why would I want to be that way, or can't you put the fork down, or haven't you learned how to eat, or why don't you eat more vegetables, or they would just be horrible. Because once you start gaining weight, it's just like people find a way to attack you. And the first and easiest way to attack anybody is some sort of physical ailment, or, you're deformed in the face or arm or something like that. People attack that so much faster because it's easier, instead of supporting them and trying to help them. Another thing that we go through is the excuses of, there's nothing I can do to fix this anymore, so forget it, I'm done, I'll just continue to be fat. And I use that one constantly. Like I said in other episodes, I hid behind my fat. And that was the hardest thing to do, because I thought, well, if I'm fat, nobody's going to love me. Nobody wants to be by my side. Nobody gives a crap about me. They'll just fat shame me. I'll use that as an excuse to eat more. Pfft, oh, good. Perfect circle of life. I'll be happy. It wasn't. It was a bad thing. And I wish, like I said before, I would have got some help. Another one there. Maybe I should just die. That way everybody would be happy with me finally. And I used that one before, and I've heard a lot of people that are overweight say that one there. They're basically feeling like they're backed against into a corner, and there's no good way of coming out of it. So they figured, forget it. I'll just give up, and that way I'll make everybody happy. And that's the way I used to think too. And that, let me tell you, that one's a tough one. But it's like, no, I come out fighting. And this is who I am today, and I'm proud of who I am today. And I know there's a lot of other folks that are out there that would be the same way. Severe depression kicks in when you start becoming overweight. And the more overweight you go, the deeper that depression goes. And it's just like, you feel like you're just stuck in a loop, in a time loop. And no matter what you do, what you say, what you change, nothing happens, nothing helps, and that just deepens the depression. And that's what I'm saying. If you're the people that are on a weight loss journey and that's the way you feel, please get help. Please get professional help. Don't try to tackle this on your own. I've tried tackling it my whole life. And let me tell you, it is difficult to do. There's nothing wrong with going and getting help. That's what those people went to so many years of school for, and they're good. They have the tools to work with that they can give you to help you keep moving on. But that is something that's huge when you become so overweight. Another one is dangerous eating habits take over. Eating more and more and more bad food because you're trying to self-comfort. You're trying to self-soothe. And you just, like I did, heck, I'd sit down and eat half a dozen double cheeseburgers, a large fry, and a drink. And I needed about maybe a quarter of those calories and carbs coming into my body, and I overloaded my system, and I just didn't know what else to do. Another one is no one's interested in me, so why should I even care if I'm overweight? I hid behind that. Like I said, I hid behind my fat for years and years and years and years. And this is one of them there that I just didn't figure anybody was interested. Now, I've lost weight. Nobody's still interested in me, but I'm not doing it for them. I don't care about that anymore. What I care about is I know I'm doing the right thing for my health and I'm there for my family. And that's what keeps me motivated. Your overall health starts to tumble down. More pain in your joints, your muscles, your back, and then ultimately organ failures can happen. So that's when you start enabling somebody to keep up the bad eating habits. These are all things that can happen, and it can happen so gently and so easily and so slowly that you can overlook all of it. You can rationalize everything, and then unfortunately it comes to one day and too late. There's nothing else that you can do. This is something that I did. I actually attempted suicide because you get to a point where it's like, I don't know what else to do. I feel I have no place to turn. I'm tired of everybody looking at me nasty, saying nasty things, talking behind my back. It just gets to be too much. I don't like eating. When I eat, I feel guilty. It's just a horrible circle that I'm going in. So I guess the best way to do it is just to attempt suicide. I attempted it and obviously didn't do so well at it, but I basically come around and this is who I am, and I believe that I was spared for a reason, and I think this is the reason is I want to help you guys. I want to be there for you, and hopefully you see things differently to make things a little bit easier. The last thing that I have that happens when you start enabling bad habits is you push everyone away because you're disgusted with yourself. And that right there, that describes me to a T. Mainly because I still don't like who I see in the mirror because I'm still fat and I'm still yucky. But I've made tremendous progress on my weight loss, and I've actually started thinking to myself a little bit better. I'm starting to see positives. I'm starting to talk in a more positive way, starting to think in a more positive way. Instead of all the negatives that are here, I'm moving forward with everything. So it's starting to get better and it's starting to get easier. But every day is a struggle. I'm not gonna take anything away. So as I'm looking at the clock, we're starting to run low on time. So I think I better speed up here a little bit. So what I wanted to do is we've done all these negatives and we've said from our point of view, this is what we go through. What I wanted to do is give you some ways and tips to help us. And you don't have to do any of these. You could do some of these. You could do all of these. It's completely up to you. But I was trying to figure out what would be the best way to help us. And I went back to everything that I've went through. And these are some of the things that helped me. Cook a healthy meal for us and enjoy it with us. Sit down with us. And it may not be your favorite. It may not be what you're looking for. But if you cook a healthy meal and you make us a part of it, you'd be surprised in how, because remember, like what I said, eating is a social thing. People do it when you can eat whatever you want, but when you diet alone. And if you can find somebody to eat with you the healthy food that you're doing, it makes it so much easier to stick with the program, stick with the plan. It's amazing how much further that you can be. You have to be really, really careful with being supportive of the person. We need you to be supportive, but don't go overboard with it. You have to be really, really careful. Don't constantly ask how we're doing. Don't constantly ask how we're eating. Did we drink enough? All this? Do it, and you can be gentle about it. And just say, hey, how are you doing today? What positives did you have today there with your weight loss journey? And leave it at that, and whatever comes up, comes up. Always try to be positive about it. Try not to focus on the negatives, because if they say, well, I gained a pound today, that's okay. You have up and down days. It could be just something as simple as just drinking too much water, or you might have had something that had a little extra salt. It's no problem. Tomorrow we'll tackle it. We'll get her back down again. We'll keep right on it going. Being positive about your weight loss journey is huge. Oh man, that's huge. And that's what the last episode was about. It was about being positive. And I'm hoping something in there will help you. Become an active part of their program. Jump in with us there. And we're not saying you need to go, all in with our weight loss journey. But if we go for a walk around the neighborhood, go with us, talk to us, support us. That way, and you don't have to push anything. You just tootle along, and that's enough. I mean, the support that you would show with that is incredible. Find ways, and I've said this so many times, and this helps me. Find ways to celebrate all the small wins and goals that you have met along the way, and celebrate with them. I mean, something could be simple. There's nothing wrong with it. You get to the end of the month and you've lost 2 pounds and you feel discouraged. There's nothing to be discouraged about because you lost 2 pounds. They're gone. Fat's gone, everything else. And it could be, if you're working out, you could have gained muscle. You may have lost 6 or 7 pounds, but you gained muscle mass. So you have to look at it that way. Always find the positive. But as long as you're going in the right direction, it doesn't matter how much you lose. Just take your time and remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. You're not going to get there overnight. The weight did not go on overnight. It's not going to come off overnight. Another thing you can do is learn about their weight loss program. Learn about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how they're going about it. So that way, maybe you can find new ways of helping. You might find new ideas. Like my son is absolutely wonderful about cooking and finding new recipes and finding new ways of, changing the flavors of the food. Like I said, we got the Blackstone griddle that we use all the time. We love that thing that has made a huge difference on, everything that we eat. And he's always wonderful about that. He's always looking for new ways to marinate stuff or new spices or seasonings or whatever it is. So that way you can have, you continuously have chicken or pork or cheesy brats or anything like that. But you can put a different spin and a different flavor on it. And that way you stay within your program. But that's because he's interested in my weight loss program. He's interested in what I'm going through. And that makes all the difference. And he doesn't have to be, not at all. But showing that kind of commitment and being that amazing is wonderful. It's the same way as Rebecca when she did it for Christmas. She made sure everything was protein heavy. She stayed away from the sugar. She stayed away from the carbs. We still had some, but she was real conscious of it, and that means the world to me. I mean, she has to be careful too because she went through the weight loss surgery, but she didn't have to be that way. She could have just went just teetotal and crazy and overkilled, because that's what happens during the holidays. There's lots of fudge and divinity and cookies and cakes and whoo, good grief. There's there's a lot there to get through. Some things not to do. Don't tempt them. Do whatever you can. Don't say, oh, just a little bit of bite, or maybe just a nibble of this. Remember, if you give a little bit of alcohol to an alcoholic, they're going to drink that whole beer. They're going to lose everything that they've built up. They're going to lose all the days that they were for their sobriety, and then they're going to go backwards. So don't tempt them. Don't become the food police. Don't go overboard. Like I said earlier, don't get in their face saying, should you have had that? Do you really need to eat that? What's your problem? What were you thinking? That right there is going to shut people down so fast. Don't say anything to the person losing weight you don't want said to you. So like I said, that's why I reiterated at the very beginning, be very careful with what you say and how you say it. You may mean it with all the love in the world, but it may not come across the way. Or the worst yet is you're trying to be cute and tell a joke or whatever it is. A lot of those come across as very negative and very hurtful. So be very, very careful with what you say. And this one here is more for us that are losing weight. Don't overdo anything. Just keep going the regular way you're going. Don't try to overkill so you had a few hundred extra calories today. That doesn't mean that if you went over 500, don't go under 500 tomorrow. Stay with the plan, stick with it, be consistent. If you want to cut off 100 or 200 calories, fine, to try to help make up for it. But don't go overboard. Don't, just because you had a few extra doesn't mean anything. Just be more mindful of it the next day. And then when all's said and done, celebrate every little win that you can. Celebrate when you make a goal. You have earned it. Be proud of yourself. Let people know, hey, I made this goal. I made it this far. I'm proud of myself. And let them be a part of your celebration and treat yourself to something. That's how you keep everything going in the right direction. Because if you don't celebrate, then why do it? Why worry about why even try? I mean, that's what you're trying to do. Is yes, you're trying to get the fat off. Yes, you're trying to get the weight off. But be happy with the progress you've made. Stay positive, and things will work out. You have to remember, this is the long haul. This is long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You have to always think of that. You're not, so when you can celebrate the little wins, those you will realize after you look back and make your goals, you're going to realize those were the big wins, and that's what helped keep moving you forward. Stay positive and celebrate those, and things will come together. Trust me, it's worth it. I have 2 years under my belt, and it obviously works. I'm down about 250 pounds, and so many pant sizes and shirt sizes and everything else. I've come a long ways. My mental health is in a good spot, and everything's good. So trust me, it works. You just have to plan. You have to play the long game. You can't play the short game. And once you understand that, everything will get a little bit better. So by the clock on the monitor and stuff here, I'm way over as always there and stuff. So I'm going to end this podcast with the normal and the favorites, and you guys' best part, the dad joke of the day. So, if you're ready to go, ready to laugh, ready to roll your eyes, here's the dad joke of the day. Hey, did you hear that they finally arrested the devil? They got him on possession. I about fell out of my chair when I read that for the first time. So thanks so much for listening. You got this. Stay positive. Stay just amazing. That's what you are. You are completely amazing. Stay amazing. Like, share, hit, comment on the pages. Everything that you can do on any platform you are. And as always, all my love and support, Sean.